Welcome everyone to our Tech in 20 series. We'd like to welcome you tonight to talk about VBlock, and Ryan Gill is going to walk us through this and what it means and how it works and all of the information about it. As you can see, we've got a poll going on, and we have polls throughout the session as normal, and you can answer those at pollev.com/tech20 or text the keyword down at the bottom to 22333 and do that with your smartphone as well. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Ryan and look forward to learning some more about VBlock.
All right, thanks, Clayton. Good day, everyone. I want to have a little fun with the poll while everybody was waiting. And it looks like Star Wars is still edging out Star Trek. If social media is any indication, Star Wars has about four times as many likes on Facebook and about 6 times as many followers on Twitter. I personally am a huge Star Wars fan, but sadly we're not going to talk about Star Wars and how it's superior to Star Trek today. Maybe we can add that in the future. We'll talk about that with Clayton maybe later on. Today we're going to have a fun, short, and informative session about VBlock, where it is, what it is, and where it came from. So what is VBlock? Is it a reference architecture? Is it cloud in a box? When I told my family I was doing this presentation on VBlock, my 8-year-old, he asked if it was a new toy. I think he was hoping to add to his extensive Lego collection, but maybe it's something else. So to talk VBlock, let's talk about the company that produces them, which is VCE. VCE was formed in 2009 as a coalition. It was formed by Cisco and EMC with investments from VMware and Intel. In 2011, it became an official standalone company. VCE came about by VMware, Cisco, and EMC customers needing more than a reference architecture or a Cisco-validated design or an EMC-proven solution. They wanted to standardize, but also wanted to be able to produce, or not produce, but procure as a unit, and also support and warranty as a unit. And that's what makes VBlock unique, to purchase as a single unit across server, network, and storage. That's CapEx or OpEx. To support as a single unit. No blame game whenever you have a problem, and to warranty as a single unit. That's what VBlock customers are looking for, that easy button per se. Now, first generation VBlock was simply a reference architecture assembled in the field. However, soon after, in 2010, they started building them in the factory, and the second generation of VBlocks were formed. These were VBlock 0, 1, 1U, and 2. In 2012, the third generation came out, which were VBlock 300 and 700. And then this year, they have just released a fourth generation, which expands on the portfolio and offers some specialized systems. So they have VBlock 100 and 200, adding to the 300 and 700 to focus on small and medium-sized businesses, and then they have specialized systems for SAP. We'll get more into the different generations and explain the differences in a minute. And as the parent company come out with newer hardware, of course, newer generations of VBlock are going to follow suit. A little more background on the architecture of VBlock. Like I said in the beginning, it was just a reference architecture, and they were not very rigid on the configuration. But in the second generation, they went overboard a little bit, and they went into these lockdown configs. And this led to some naysayers and quite a bit of pushback from the customers. But starting around the third generation, more options became available and the ability to scale up and scale down. You'll see in a later slide options for a third generation VBlock and all the different options there are. Now, there's still a minimum configuration and a maximum configuration for each series along with specific VCE supported hardware customization. Now, there are choices within each component, but just because the parent offers a specific component doesn't mean it's going to be supported. For instance, there are VCE supported blade customizations or RAID types, things along that nature. Now, altogether, this is designed to offer balanced CPU, I/O bandwidth, and storage capacity relative to the compute and storage arrays in the system. All right, now, what does it look like? There it is, that easy button we just talked about. That's what provides the best-in-class compute, network, and storage in the industry with one number to call when you have a problem. But I wish it were that easy. In 2011, CA purchased a VBlock 1, and here's the diagram of what it actually looks like. So the mystery is gone. Basically, VBlock is just a rack of equipment. And on the right-hand side, we have the storage layer, which, of course, is going to be an EMC solution. For VBlock 1s, it's a Clarion CX4 480. And on the left side is the compute and networking layer with the Cisco chassis, blades, and switches. VCE certifies that all this hardware is in an approved configuration and provides the one-stop technical support. VCE has level 1 technicians that have triage, and in some cases, you know, they help resolve those support issues. But if level 1 cannot resolve, they essentially just spearhead the support calls to the parent company. I mentioned the configuration options of a 300 series VBlock earlier, and here's what that's going to look like. Now, the biggest differentiator between series is the storage array. Every step up is a different array. And it was the case for the second generation VBlocks, the 0, 1, and 2, like we just looked at the 1. And it's also the case for the newer generations, from the 100 series all the way up to the 700. And like I said earlier, newer generations have more options and aren't as rigid as before. Within the 300 series itself, there are several different versions and the ability to scale up or down within each. You'll notice there are a minimum and maximum number of chassis and blades with each one. There's also storage maximums for each. You can start off small and increase capacity as demand increases. But VBlocks are typically used for new deployments. So maybe a DDI deployment or maybe an SAP implementation. All this hardware pre-configured to work in that balanced configuration from a single company makes it easier to procure and support, but what about consuming all these resources? That's where their management software comes in. On top of everything, they have the management software called Unified Infrastructure Manager Provisioning Center, or UIM. Once you have the underlying components configured at that base configuration, you discover the VBlock as a whole. And essentially, you do not have to go back into any element managers from that point on, except for troubleshooting. However, you don't have to use UIM. You can still manage it at the component level, but one of the selling points of VBlock is to break down those silos. So you aren't managing your compute, storage, network, and virtualization separately. UIM handles the provisioning from everything on the underlying hardware, creating and configuring the UCS profiles and managing the blades, to zoning the SAN fabric and creation of the LUNs, and connecting all those things together on the back end. And what this does is allow someone without all the expertise and all those skills to do provisioning. Now, UIM can also optionally install VMware ESXi and then add that to vCenter and or vCloud Director. In Demos on Demand, where I work, in addition to the VBlock, we have traditional right mount servers with back-end storage arrays, EMC, and I personally enjoy not having to go to each element manager and create the LUNs and create the zoning on the SAN switches and things like that. However, once VMware is installed and synchronizes your blades, basically what it's going to synchronize when you look in vCenter, it's going to be a VMware cluster. So you're going to have all the blades together as a vCenter cluster. And then after that, UIM is finished. Now, you can go back into UIM and add, remove, or edit, you know, in case you need to add or remove a blade or add or remove storage. But managing above the hypervisor on the VBlock is done with vCenter or other tools like our automation suite. So, do any of your customers have a VBlock or considering one? You can see that's our poll question right there. As a reminder, you can text your answers to 22333 or answer online at olev.com/tech20. You know, we're always curious as to what's going on out there in the field, so if you have a few minutes to go out there and take the poll, we'd greatly appreciate it. All right, so why would you care? It's hard to ignore a company like VCE. You know, it's growing fast in a large converged infrastructure market that's also growing. Couple that with the fact that cloud is one of the hottest trends in IT today. You know, software-defined data center, software-defined everything nowadays. There's just such a push to make back-end infrastructure invisible, seamless, and agile. The ability to reduce that inherent complexity in the traditional data center architectures is something many companies are investing in for their cloud strategy. VCE's biggest hurdle to me is the ability for the partners to continue playing nice, because you have Cisco, VMware, and EMC, and a lot of times there's overlapping solutions. So for them to continue playing nice, I think is the biggest hurdle.
Ryan,
sure.
Ryan, who's pushing this the most at this point? I mean,
EMC.
You know, you got all three of them there, but EMC?
Yeah, EMC is the big brother in that relationship. I think they're the majority owner in VCE. So they're the ones that are pushing it the most.
Okay.
So the results here, looks like we have quite a few that have VBlocks or evaluating them, and a few that don't have VBlocks.
What about competitors? What about competitors? I mean, are there competitors out there for this?
Yeah, the biggest competitor is what's called a FlexPod. And what a FlexPod is very similar to what a VBlock is technically, which is, you know, a storage array on the back end with the UCS, compute, and Cisco networking on the compute and networking layer, with VMware running on top. And the difference between a FlexPod and a VBlock is that a FlexPod has NetApp storage. So NetApp are the ones pushing FlexPod, EMC are the ones pushing VBlock. And I have read about IBM being in the converged infrastructure market as well. Haven't heard much about them, but you know, they have their own compute and storage solutions that would back theirs. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
What does this mean for you at CA? What VCE has done is they have developed a VBlock Ready certification. And this certification is to assure their customers that the solutions have been tested and certified on VBlock systems, and that VCE will support the decision to implement those solutions. The certification is a series of comprehensive tests that basically assures that a partner solution has met all entrance, integration, interoperability criteria, and are technically ready for use with the VBlock. If you look on VCE's Certified Partner page, CA by far has the most certified solutions. CA was first to market with VBlock Ready solutions. We developed a strategic partnership with them back in 2011. We are up to 25 products that are certified, and in addition to that, we have 5 unique solutions specifically for VBlock, like our virtual desktop automation and private cloud accelerator. We've worked strategically with VCE, and any of our customers who are using our automation suite for clouds, for example, can easily plug in their VBlock. We developed connectors that manage the VBlock by connecting through the UIM API. So we can provision the VBlock infrastructure through process automation. UIM can only provision the hypervisor. We extend that through the depth and breadth of the CA suite. For instance, our capacity management solution has specific VBlock specifics within it. So there's VCE blade pack. Those things like that can help anyone using that solution to plan, migrate, or manage their VBlock effectively. And you can go to the website right there at the bottom and see all of our certified products. So let's look at some of these questions here. Seems like HP, BNC, and Dell would like to be in this market too. I agree. I haven't heard much from either of those, but I'm sure it's not long if they're not already getting close. Some of the other questions from earlier today, isn't UIM being upgraded? Yes, and like I said, we first established our partnership with them back in 2011, and at that, when we first started and the certifications first came out, the UIM was at an older version. But I know personally that our development has access to the newer versions of UIM, and I'm sure they're working on new connectors for newer certifications. So how about solutions for monitoring network, application, server performance health? Where do we play in providing tools to VBlock owners? If you look at our certified products, we have several service assurance solutions there. So Spectrum, eHealth, and NIMSoft. All three of those are certified for VBlock, so we could go down that path. I mean, at this point, we can open up for more questions.
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask questions, please press *1. That's *1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile a Q&A roster.
While they're doing that, the one that you didn't talk about is this idea of customers rolling their own. What do you think about that as far as people doing it themselves?
It's absolutely possible to go out and purchase all the components that would make up a VBlock and do it yourself. And I'm sure there are a lot of customers out there that are doing that already. What VCE is bringing to the table is that being able to make that procurement as a unit. So you're not have to go out and do different, separate purchases for all, different support contracts for all, different warranty contracts for all. They bring that, completely in one house under one roof. And so, that purchase as a unit, that support as a unit, and warranty as a unit is really what makes VBlock unique to the other solutions.
Again,
or just doing it yourself.
Oh, yeah. Corinne, any questions on the line?
There are no questions. Again, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1. And there are no questions in queue.
Okay, so Ryan, if you want to summarize this and then toss it back to me, okay?
Sure. So, like I said earlier, you can think of VBlock as it's not a magic box. It's not some magical black box that is completely different from something else. All it really is an EMC storage solution on the back end with UCS or Cisco, compute and networking, with VMware sitting on top as the hypervisor. And what VCE has done is taken all those components, pre-configured them to be predictable, and so you know what you're getting. So if you're doing a VDI deployment, you can scale that and know, VCE will help you right size those things, and they have solutions for those. And like I said, what makes VBlock unique is the procurement as a unit, the support as a unit, and that's what you're getting. That easy button that we were talking about. So back over to you, Clayton.
Thanks. And so those of you who have joined us today, you know, it's just if you've got any other questions as you go along, or if you start talking to your customers about this and you find that you are, you know, running into questions that you could answer and help them and be a better consultant for them, you know, holler towards Ryan and see if he can give you any more answers specific to what you need. And then next week on the 11th, we'll be doing application lifecycle management and the view of how it goes from one end to the other, and then how we sit inside of that. Not so much from a CA product standpoint, but looking at all the things that your customers who are doing application development are looking at. And so we'll be doing that next week, and look forward to that. And until then, good selling.